My head hurts.
In 1944, during the Second World War, a team of paratroopers is assigned a critical task to take down a German radio jamming tower hidden inside an old church. As their aircraft approaches the drop zone, Boyce, a nervous and reserved soldier, tries to steady his nerves before the jump. The team includes Tibbet, Rosenfeld, Grunauer, Chase, who handles photography, and Ford, a demolitions expert, brought in for this operation due to his outstanding performance in a previous mission. The turbulence gets worse, and Boyce accidentally drops his chain. Tibbet quickly snatches it up and mocks him for relying on a good luck charm. Boyce's lackluster track record in the military often makes him the target of teasing from his fellow soldiers. Shortly after, Sergeant Renzen, the team leader, steps into the main cabin of the plane to deliver some final instructions. He begins questioning the men, but when it's Boyce's turn, he freezes and can't answer. Boyce's already fragile confidence takes another hit, but the operation must go on.
They put it on a church because the Nazis are rotten sons of bitches.
Sergeant Renson gives his last words of encouragement before heading back to the front of the plane. A massive fleet of planes and ships is headed for France, and all the troops can do now is wait and hope. Suddenly, the aircraft begins to shake violently, a clear sign that nearby areas are under attack. As they draw closer to their objective, explosions light up the sky around them, yet their plane manages to evade the blasts. The chaos intensifies, with nearby planes getting shot down, adding to the panic among the soldiers. Sergeant Renzen tries to rally the troops, giving them a boost of courage amidst the fear. Enemy fire tears through the aircraft, killing some of the squad members on the spot. The red light inside the plane switches on, signaling that they must prepare to jump. Tragically, flames engulf part of the aircraft, and a few soldiers are thrown backward, perishing in the blaze. Those who survive the initial onslaught leap out as soon as the green light flashes. Boyce, overwhelmed by the scene, hesitates to jump, paralyzed by fear and confusion. The sergeant forces him out of the door into a sky filled with flying bullets. From above, Boyce gets a sweeping view of the battlefield. Realizing that this is the moment they had all trained for, he lands near a body of water and almost drowns, struggling to untangle himself from his parachute. Eventually, he manages to break free, grabs a weapon, and runs into the forest. While searching for his squad, Boyce comes across the sergeant being cornered and mocked by German soldiers. Just before he can intervene, Ford grabs him from behind, stopping him. The two watch helplessly as the sergeant is executed, and Ford insists that they focus on completing the mission.
What are you talking about? We could have done shit.
They head deeper into the forest and soon hear movement nearby. It turns out to be other surviving squad members, and the group shares a brief moment of relief and reunion. They push forward across the open terrain, hoping to regroup with more American troops. Unfortunately, one of them accidentally steps on a landmine, triggering an explosion and causing serious injuries. Boyce regains consciousness and crawls to safety. At this point, staying alive is their #1 concern. But the mission remains incomplete. While continuing through the area, they come across a strange, unrecognizable animal carcass, which unsettles them all. Its skeletal frame doesn't resemble that of a dog. Chase suggests the beast might be a jackal, a creature from the Bible often called a hound of hell. Tibbet brushes it off, refusing to buy into any folklore. A faint sound grabs Boyce's attention, prompting him to alert the others that someone or something could be close. They hold their position and soon encounter a girl named Chloe. She flees at the sight of the Americans, but they manage to catch her and hold her at gunpoint, forcing her to guide them to an old chapel. Boyce reassures her that she won't be harmed, but she's left with no real choice except to comply. Together, they make their way to the village where the chapel stands, and at the entryway, Ford instructs Boyce to watch over Chloe while they scout the area. The disturbance stirs Chloe's neighbor, Mrs. Lesnar, who alerts the German troops about Chloe being out past curfew. As the guards begin appearing, Boyce quickly finds cover, staying out of sight while they question Chloe, who talks her way out of trouble.
This way.
She allows the soldiers to stay in her home as they continue their objective. She gives them a brief look around the house, just in case they need to hide quickly. Tibbet hears something from an upstairs room and questions Chloe about it. She replies that her sick aunt lives there and ends the conversation abruptly. She also has a young brother named Paul, whom she looks after ever since German troops killed their parents. The men take shelter in the cramped attic, organizing their weapons and preparing their plan. Their meeting is cut short by a woman's shriek. Outside, German soldiers are executing a villager for unknown reasons. Chloe tells them that such killings are now common since the Germans seized control. She warns them that they can't stay long due to frequent checks, But Ford assures her they only need 4 hours, and she reluctantly agrees. An argument breaks out among the group over the delay in the mission, but shockingly, it's Boyce who pushes forward. He reminds them, echoing the sergeant's words, that the air support can't operate until the tower is brought down. Still, Tibbet mocks him, insisting he's not cut out for combat. Tibbet's rant is cut short when Paul, with innocent excitement, asks him to play baseball. Annoyed, Tibbet storms off.
I think all Americans play baseball.
And Chloe explains that Paul believes every American plays baseball. Boyce heads downstairs after Ford instructs him to. While passing the hallway, he hears coughing from a nearby room and peeks inside, finding a severely disfigured woman. Her skin is scorched, and her condition is dreadful. Chloe tells him that ever since her aunt came back from the church, the German stronghold, she hasn't spoken a word. She suspects the Germans experimented on her, leaving both physical and mental damage. Later that night, Tibbet and Chase sneak off to scout the German compound, just as another inspection takes place in the village. Ford immediately picks up on it and decides to stay hidden in the attic with Boyce and Paul. The German officer, Waffner, comes knocking on Chloe's door. He tries to force himself on her. After she refuses, he calls his men inside, suspicious, after hearing a sound from upstairs. Fortunately, Paul blocks the way, handing a baseball to the soldier, who spits on it and gives it back. To the hidden soldier's relief, the Germans leave without discovering them. Waffner threatens to send Chloe to the church for reconditioning if she won't sleep with him. With no other option, Chloe submits to his abuse, her face filled with disgust. Boyce can't take it anymore and steps in, pointing a gun at Waffner. Ford has no choice but to back him up and joins him downstairs. Together they subdue Waffner and tie him up, rendering him powerless. Ford then sends Boyce to the church tower, using the cover of darkness. Moving through the forest, Boyce reaches a hidden entrance and waits for the right moment to slip inside. He spots a truck loaded with mutilated people, barely clinging to life. These human experiments, led by Dr. Schmidt, target French civilians and deceased German soldiers. Boyce watches as the failed subjects are torched with a flamethrower. Perplexed by the horrific science, he presses on, continuing his mission through the night. A passing German truck forces him to duck for cover beside the road. Suddenly, a snarling dog appears and begins to chase him, leaving him no option but to climb into the back of the truck. Boyce climbs onto the truck, only to be horrified by the sight of dead soldiers stacked on top of each other. In a panic, he hides beneath one of the lifeless bodies. The truck reaches the church, and 2 German soldiers begin to unload it. This gives Boyce a brief opportunity to slip away and make his way quietly through the tower. With enemies lurking around, each move he makes is critical. One wrong step, and it could all be over. He ends up in a subterranean part of the church that resembles a dungeon. Strange, muffled sounds echo from small locked cells, and Boyce quickly hides as 2 inspectors show up. Intrigued by a disturbing noise from one of the cells, he peeks through and spots a grotesque fusion of human and creature. Meanwhile, Tibbet and Chase manage to return safely to Chloe's house. Boyce continues deeper into the lab area, desperate to uncover the truth behind the terrifying mutations. A body bag above him suddenly shifts. He unzips it to find a barely breathing person soaked in a mysterious serum. He spots a set of syringes on a nearby table and takes one to bring a sample back to Ford. He believes this strange red serum is the cause of the horrific transformations he's witnessed. Then, a faint voice cries for help from nearby. Boyce pulls back a curtain to find a severed head that's still alive, pleading for assistance. His face freezes in shock. It's a nightmare he can't wrap his mind around. Moving on, he discovers Rosenfeld tied to a bed. He tries to set him free, but is forced to hide as German doctors enter. He watches as the doctors inject a dead soldier with the serum. It doesn't work, so they discard the body.
We gotta get the hell out of here.
Boyce removes a large needle from Rosenfeld to save him, and together they sneak out through a tomb beneath the church. They successfully escape and return to the house, where Boyce finally lets his emotions out after everything he endured underground. Ford struggles to understand what Boyce is rambling about and notices his focus has shifted from the mission to the strange experiments. Boyce shows him the red serum. When they question Waffner about it, he refuses to reveal anything, even under torture. Though trapped and beaten, Waffner stays loyal to his cause, which only fuels Ford's rage. Boyce tries to intervene, but Ford injures him in the process, prompting him to leave the room. As the group gets ready to storm the church, Chase checks on Waffner. The prisoner, pretending to be unconscious, suddenly breaks free and fatally shoots Chase. Still wearing a hood, Waffner fires wildly until the others rush in and bring him down. Before taking his final breath, Chase asks for his camera, and the team solemnly watches him pass away. Boyce, desperate to save him, suggests using the serum to bring Chase back. Moments after the injection, Chase revives, looking healthy and untouched. He pokes at his bullet wounds, feeling no pain. Everyone watches, baffled, as his strength increases rapidly, but it doesn't last. Chase soon begins to mutate. His body distorts, his eyes glow red, and he turns aggressive. Just before he can fully transform, Ford shoots him multiple times. Waffner then reveals the serum's true purpose. It can resurrect fallen soldiers as monstrous, zombie-like creatures. Suddenly, Chase reanimates once more. Before he can do harm, Boyce slams him to the floor and violently ends it by smashing his head. The chaos gives Waffner the chance to escape unnoticed. He slips through the attic, grabs Paul on his way out, and meets up with German soldiers who take the boy hostage. Chloe, desperate, chases the vehicle but fails to catch it. She runs back to Boyce, pleading for help. Determined to rescue her brother, Boyce defies Ford's orders. He argues that their mission isn't just to destroy the tower, it's also about stopping the horrific experiments. After hearing him out, Ford agrees, on the condition that Boyce leads the team back inside. Back at the church, Waffner brings the boy into the lab. Ignoring warnings from Dr. Schmidt, he injects himself with the serum, convinced it'll heal his injuries. The doctor protests, saying the serum has never been used on the living, and its effects are unknown. Waffner takes 2 full doses, letting out a terrifying scream as his bones begin to crack unnaturally. Despite half his face being blown off earlier, he now boasts that he's stronger than ever. A twisted grin forms as he shows no sign of pain. Meanwhile, the group prepares to infiltrate the church from a hidden area in the forest. Everyone is assigned a role, and they split up for the mission.
Book, huh?
To kick things off, Chloe lures German soldiers by showing herself in town. They chase her through the streets and into the forest, where one soldier catches up near a bridge. Thinking he's won, he gets off his bike and tries to attack her. But after a brief struggle, Chloe laughs, right before Ford knocks the soldier out cold. They rig his body with explosives and use him to gain access to the church. The explosion takes out several soldiers, allowing Rosenfeld and Tibbet to storm in as a distraction. Meanwhile, Ford, Boyce, and Chloe sneak in through the sewer system. The base erupts into chaos, with German troops scrambling to defend against what they think is a much larger force. Inside, Boyce and Ford start planting explosives while Chloe breaks off to find Paul. In a corridor, she aims her weapon at 2 soldiers and pulls the trigger on one, when he refuses to reveal where her brother is. The group grows more frantic, and their actions turn increasingly aggressive toward their opponents. Inside the control room, Ford silently slits a soldier's throat from behind to set the timers for their explosive escape plan. Below ground, a soldier deceives Chloe by taking her to the dens, pretending her brother is there. He unlocks a cell, and she's met with the gruesome sight of half a corpse on the ground. Fortunately, Boyce arrives just in time to stop the German soldier from shooting her. As they leave, they witness a zombie drag the soldier into the cell and begin devouring him. Shocked and disturbed by what they just saw, they push forward, knowing time is against them, determined to locate Paul. Staying as low profile as possible, they sneak into the lab. After a while, they hear Paul shouting Chloe's name. She's finally reunited with her brother, and together they head for the way out. But before they can make it far, a mutated creature snatches Chloe back inside. Paul manages to flee toward the village, as Chloe keeps the monster distracted, exchanging bullets and blows. Though she lands a few shots, they barely seem to slow it down. The monster chases her through the corridor, but she eventually finds a flamethrower and incinerates it. Waffner, now transformed and exhibiting unnatural strength, finds Ford setting charges inside the radio tower. He strikes him down and prepares to carry out a dark plan. Meanwhile, as Boyce rigs the lab with explosives, Dr. Schmidt corners him with a gun and demands obedience. Drawing on sheer willpower, Boyce fights back, leading to a fierce struggle. Schmidt tries to stab him, but fails, and Boyce kills him during the altercation. Back in the village, Chloe arrives to find Tibbet and Rosenfeld pinned under heavy fire from enemy soldiers. The firefight drags on until Paul runs straight into the middle of it. Worried for the boy's safety, Tibbet gets hit while shielding him from the bullets. He still manages to get Paul to safety, while Chloe sneaks up on the remaining enemies and eliminates them, then tends to Tibbet's injuries. Elsewhere in the base, Waffner dominates Ford, tossing him like a rag doll before impaling him on a meat hook. He explains that the serum is created from villagers' remains, harnessing a black tar-like energy buried beneath the village for generations. The Nazis' goal is to engineer soldiers who are both unkillable and eternal. After planting the last charges, Boyce storms in to confront Waffner, but Waffner hurls him aside. The mutated Waffner opens vaults containing corpses of soldiers enhanced by the serum. Despite his pain, Ford yanks himself off the hook and injects the serum into himself, healing instantly. Knowing the risk, he sacrifices himself by attacking Waffner from behind. Their fight is brutal and chaotic, their bodies becoming more monstrous with each blow. Though Ford can't overpower him, he rolls an oxygen tank toward Waffner's feet, and Boyce shoots it. The explosion knocks Waffner into the black pit just in time. Boyce runs over to help Ford, but Ford seals himself inside as he passes the door. He tells Boyce to leave and detonate the charges, convinced no one should control the serum's power.
Open the gate, we can fix it.
Reluctantly, Boyce agrees and escapes right before Ford triggers the explosives in the lab, ending his life. The zombie soldiers and Waffner, who had just crawled out of the pit, further mutated. Boyce sets the final detonation timer in the control room and escapes as the church and signal tower collapse behind him, burying the base for good. Villagers gather outside as a broadcast announces the Allies' triumph in the war. Boyce returns to Chloe, Paul, Tibbet, and Rosenfeld in the village and solemnly tells them Ford didn't survive. After the dust settles, Boyce speaks with a high-ranking officer about their mission. He attributes their success to Ford's actions. When asked about rumors of a secret lab beneath the church, Boyce, echoing Ford's beliefs, claims there's nothing to report. He now understands that the horrors below should remain hidden, or history could repeat itself in even worse ways. Subscribe for more videos like this. Turn on notifications and leave a like. It really helps the channel grow. Thank you for watching.